Hello everyone, welcome back to Vicky's Country Home. First of all, today is Memorial Day and I really want to express my appreciation and thanks for all of the brave men and women throughout our history who've given their lives for our country and our freedom. And I just want to say thank you, and that's what today is all about. But we are having a barbecue, and my stepsister is coming over for that, and her father is one of those that gave his life. So this is especially for her and for him. So today what we're going to do is we're going to be smoking ribs on the Pit Boss Kamado Grill, and I got a special recipe from my friend here in the Reno area who has a company called Reno Chilies, and well, that's his Facebook page.
Okay.
The company is actually Reno Chilies.
Very cool.
Like this. So he gave us this recipe, and we're going to try it out for a barbecue rub, and we're going to show you the process start to finish. I'll even have him eat some of the ribs
I'll
on
eat
camera.
all the ribs.
So, come on, let's get started. All right, some of these ingredients you'll probably have, and some are more unusual, so you'd probably have to order them. And I will leave a link in the description with his website. So if you want to make this, you can order some of these really neat ingredients.
Yeah, we're not being compensated for any of this. We're just doing this.
This is just because he gave me a taste of a chili powder he had.
That's good.
And when I tasted it, I thought this needs to be a barbecue rub. It tastes so good. So because of that, we bought all this stuff. We're going to make it. So this is Rick's Chimayo barbecue rub. So first thing we're going to do, you get to wield that.
Oh, I get to do the tools, huh?
Yeah.
I get to do all the work.
So we're going to add 1/4 cup of tomato powder. So we got our 1/4 cup of tomato powder. And then he calls for 2 ounces of granulated molasses. And I don't have that. But I do have sucanat. And it's kind of in between brown sugar and molasses from what I can read. So I'm going to add 2 ounces of sucanat. And I got that from Azure Standard. And he's got this nicely mixed. Next ingredient, it either calls for 1/2 cup of granulated honey or 3/4 cup of brown sugar. Since I didn't want to dig out my granulated honey, we're going to go with the 3/4 cup of brown sugar.
I like brown sugar. I brew with brown sugar.
Get that all mixed up.
Oh yeah, that's smelling good. Oops, that one right there.
Now we need 1/4 cup of powdered apple cider vinegar, and this is another one of those weird ingredients. This one I did get from Rick at Reno Chilies. Comes like this.
Oh yeah, smelling good.
Yeah, it does. It smells really. But we're about to add what started this whole thing. This is the Chimayo chili powder, and it just has an amazing taste. It's very light heat, very, very light, but the flavor is wonderful, and it's from a little town in New Mexico, and there's a story about a church and healing dirt, and I don't know the whole story, but I'm sure that if I put Rick on here, he would tell you the whole thing. So we're going to add 1/4 cup of this Chimayo chili powder. It's getting a really pretty color. I don't know if y'all can see it.
Gotta get these lumps out.
Gotta smush the lumps.
I may have to get my roto hammer out.
Not in that bowl, you won't.
You always got to use tools to do something.
So now we're gonna add 1
5-pound
teaspoon. Nope, no sledgehammers. 1 teaspoon of paprika and 1 teaspoon of garlic powder. I'll get my ingredients over here where I can reach them. Okay. We're going to add 1 teaspoon of onion powder and 1 teaspoon of cumin powder. A teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. And this was kind of a surprise ingredient for me, but it's a tablespoon of ground coffee.
Oh yeah.
So that's all the ingredients. We're going to get this all mixed up well. Yeah. I need to smash some of those lumps. That's not doing
I
it.
told you my sledgehammer would work just fine.
Okay, so I'm going to take a taste because I've never had this before. So I'm just going to get a small taste. What do you think? Now you taste the pepper
That chili,
coming in.
Yeah. Yeah, it comes on the back of the tongue, middle of the tongue actually.
Yeah, it's not super hot. So, okay, now my lovely assistant here is going to prepare the ribs, and I'm going to let him do all that for you.
All right, so what we will be smoking today is going to be some St. Louis style ribs. We purchased the ribs from the Costco. They tend to have a pretty good deal on them, and you get 3 racks per package. I generally like to do the St. Louis style ribs, pork ribs, in place of the baby backs because to me they tend to have a little more meat on them. I like the flavor that the extra bone puts in there, and they can at times tend to have a little more fat on them, which is okay. I'm going to trim off that and then pretty much get them ready to go into the smoke on the Kamado. Now, when it comes to cooking pork and smoking it, one thing I liked about that rub that we just did and the taste of it is that, you can taste the chili in it. That Chimayo chili really comes out and gives it a nice smoky kind of chili taste to it. It's not too sweet, and I really believe it's going to complement the pork well. I really believe that in smoking meats, whether it be beef or whether it be pork or chicken, fish or whatever, that really the meat still needs to taste like the meat and not like a bunch of sweet rub, and that's all you taste, or over smoking it to where it tastes like a 2x4 when you get ready to eat it.
That's not good eats.
No, that is definitely not good eats, to kind of steal that from Alton Brown. So anyway, what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to take one, trim it, show you how I set that up for putting on our Kamado. Then I'll do the other 2 racks offline and then go ahead and rub them up. And I let them sit in the refrigerator for, I don't know, about a half hour to 45 minutes before I actually put them on the smoke. It's during that time that I fire the Kamado up and get it all hot and at the proper temperature before I put the meat on. Okay, so this is a rack, St. Louis type. So we still have some of the bone along here with the extra meat. I actually like to chew on that. So we also have some fat, some extra little meat here. That's not going to go on the smoking like that. I'm about to trim this off. And then on the back we have the silver skin. This is definitely not good eats. If you're smoking pork ribs, you got to get this membrane off, because if not, it gets stuck in your teeth and it's just not very tasty at all. So with this, first thing I'm going to do is I have my knife over here. This has all been cleaned up. I like to use paper towels a lot instead of some type of cloth or anything, because what it does is You know, the paper towels are pretty clean, and I like to lay my utensils on it and stuff like that. So I'll come along here. Oops, I cut a little more off of that than I wanted. And I'll just come along here, skim the top of this, get this little bit of meat off, and that fat, and kind of trim that up. I'll actually take this meat and put it on the grill and kind of munch on that. Now, I don't take all the fat off. I like to leave a little bit on there because it renders down into the meat and kind of gets on the deflector stone. It flares up and kind of makes it all nice and good and tasty. So I've trimmed that off. That looks about right. There wasn't a lot of fat on this on the surface. It was actually a really good pick. Vicki did a great job of that. And so then I come back here. You'll notice there's some more fat here. So I'll just kind of come up here and trim a little bit of that off. I'm going to leave that on there for cooking. And then what I do is I take a paper towel. Actually, I'll do two, like this. Hold this down, and then I grab the silver skin with the paper towel. It gives me, you know, it gives me some grip on it, because I'll tell you what, this stuff can get dadgum slick. This one you can definitely see. So let me try this again. This one almost looks like it's off.
Maybe they did.
I think they probably peeled this guy off. All right, so I'm going to try this again. That last one, it looks like at the butcher shop they already had peeled the silver skin off. You can see it right here, right? You can see this is that membrane. And if you get a paper towel, you can just kind of grab this with a paper towel. It gets you a good grip on it. And then you can come up along it and then just peel it right back. There we go. And so if you notice, here's that skin I'm talking about. This is like some really not good eats here. This is just, you don't want this on your ribs. But at the same time, you don't want to cut this membrane off here, because this is what helps hold the meat onto the ribs. So I just grab this and then just peel it right off. And that's kind of what got taken off. And now these ribs are ready to be pretty much, let me see, I think I got a little bit left on here. Let me see about that. Yep. This stuff here is kind of hard at times to get off, but I still try and pull off as much of this thinner that's out here against the meat. And as far as this one, no, use this knife here. Yeah, I think I'll leave that on there. Take just a little more of the fat off. And then with the way that the Kamado I have a rib rack where you can stand them up like this and they'll cook or they'll smoke. The thing is, though, is that my Kamado is, the one that I have is not like the big ones that are like about this big across. So what I'll do is I'll take the ribs and I'll pretty much cut them in half like this, and then I'll put each one of these inside that rib holder, and you'll see that once we get it outside. So I'm going to finish up the rest of these. We'll rub some down and get them to set off to the side so that they can be kind of marinating a bit before I put them on the smoke. All right, so now I'm going to apply the rub. I'll do it on a couple of pieces of meat here just so you can see about how thick that we put it on. And then these are going to go in the refrigerator while the Kamato's getting up to heat. And take some time getting all happy with the rub.
Did you already dry them?
Well, they're sort of kind of dry.
He was supposed to dry them first.
I normally don't. They just got to have something to stick to.
I know, but that's what the recipe said.
So I'm using a spoon to sprinkle this on just because I don't know if we're going to use all the rub, and I want to be able to save it away for later. And this is one thing that I heard from, gosh, I forget who I was watching on YouTube, but this is not a dry pat, it's a dry rub. And what you do is you go and you got to rub this into the meat. You know, you get it in. You can do a little patting if you want, but I mean, it's not that you just kind of put it on there and pat it like you're petting your dog or something. You know, you want to get it really rubbed into the meat so that it gets into that top layer of the muscle. Then I'm going to pop this over, get some more of the rub out. This is the bone side. And then get in here and get it all good and happy. Look at my fingers. There we go. Yummy. And so this is how I rub it. You know, it kind of looks like this. And then I'll do another, stack these. Could you give me another tray, please? Or a plate just to put these on. That would work. I actually thought I had one out here for it and I didn't. Thank you.
Where would you like it?
Yeah, just put it over. And then I'll bring another one out. Paper towel, pat it dry. Of course, all hands were washed prior to this step. Everything's clean. Rub it in, get it all nice and happy, get it on the ends. Flip it over, do it again. And that's it. Like I say, we don't put this on there, you know, so that it's really, really on heavily, because again, you know, I think that the rubs and everything that we do to the meat, even smoking it, is to complement the flavor of the meat, and you have to be able to taste the meat to know what you're eating. Elsewise, who knows what you're eating?
Who knows?
That's true. Alrighty, so I'm going to do up the rest of these, and then we'll go out and get the Kamato all fired up, and then get ready to put these guys on for about 3 to 4 hours. All right, so this is my Pit Boss Kamato. It's a ceramic smoker, and what's really great about this is that you have about an inch, a little over an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter of ceramic that holds the heat. This thing is real stable. Once I set this thing at 150 degrees and get both my smoke adjustment out of the top here set right and my air intake down there, I've had this thing smoking for 6 hours at 250 degrees and didn't have to touch it. You know, it's that stable. And that's what you want when you're smoking meats, is that you get them at a low and slow and keep the temperature stable, unlike the barrel type smoker that we have, that we still do use. This one, even though it's cold outside, it's going to stay warm, and it's going to be in good shape. So I'm really not as concerned. Down in the pit, down in the firebox, here, sweetheart, if you want, you can come over here. All right, down here in the firebox, I have lump charcoal. We're not using the charcoal briquettes. I believe this is mesquite. And I put the lumps in there, and there's actually quite a bit left from the last time that we cooked out here about a month ago. Even though I smoked that, I think it was what, about 3 hours, 3.5 hours?
Something like that.
Yeah, and we actually had quite a bit of charcoal left. So I'm going to fire this up. The wood that I'm going to be using today is pecan, cherry, and mesquite, besides the mesquite that's part of the charcoal here. And what I use to fire this up is some people use the we use
Brian
paper.
bought a new toy.
Oh yeah, yeah. We'll use paper. Some will go ahead and use some of the wax fire starters. I don't actually like those. I like. Let me see what I got here. There we go. I like using this, which is a propane torch. Even better than that, it's got blowtorch mode. Oh yeah, baby.
You just scared the cat.
Yeah, I know, but it's blowtorch mode. So what I'll do is I'll come in here, I'll get this started, and then when I get a couple of the bigger pieces and the smaller ones looking like they've started, I'll shut this up. I'll get my air set for lighting, which is pretty much wide open. I'll watch the temperature and as soon as it starts climbing up to around 250, I'll go ahead and start shutting the air and the smoke down. And then just before I put the meat on, I'll put this deflector plate right here on. I'll put the flat grill on top of that. And then I'll go ahead and put my rib rack on. And prior to that, though, I'll also put the wood on for smoking this. And basically, once it's set, I just kind of sit back and enjoy the rest of the day. But this right here is pretty much about done. I can go ahead and turn this off. And again, though, I love this. Oh, yeah. All right. And there we see that is pretty much lit. And so that's hot, so I'm setting that off to the side. I'm going to put this guy down. I'm going to open this up to like a number 1.5 to 2. And then down here, I have my air opened. It's got two types of plates on it. It's got a solid plate if you want to shut it off. And then it's got a plate with holes in it. And I kind of have it all the way open with the one that has the holes in it all the way over to the left. So I'm still getting air in to get this thing lit. And then I basically watch the temperature up here until it gets to around 250, and then I start backing things down when it's stable. Then I put the wood chunks on, put the deflector plate in place, the grill, this, and then put the ribs on it. Hey, so we're sitting at 225. It's a little bit cooler than what I'd like it to be, but I'd rather have it. Right now I've opened up the air a little bit better, a little more. I've also opened up the vent at the top a little bit, which is going to help it increase in temperature. The one thing I don't want to do is get it up to like 300 degrees and then try and bring it back down. That's always a pain in the fanny. So what I'm going to do now is put the wood on, put my deflector. So I've got the wood for the smoke. I'm going to put the deflector plate on, the bottom grill. I'm going to put my ribs in here, which you can see. The ribs are right here, and oh, they've done a nice job of marinating over the past hour. And I will put those on, and I put the meaty side down in the rib rack here. So I'll put all 6 racks in here, or half racks in here, and I'll put them the meaty side down. And then that way, any of the fat and stuff will go ahead and run down into the juicier part of the meat. At least that's how it's worked for me. So at this point, I'm just going to raise this up, put my chunk wood on for smoke. It's apple and pecan. And this is going to be about a 4.5 hour smoke on these ribs at low temperatures. And get this in. That ought to give me a good smoke there. Put the deflector plate on. All right, and then I put the bottom rack on, so I've got the smoke wood. Now you can see it's already starting to kick up. I've got the bottom rack on, or the bottom grate on top of the deflector, and then I'm just going to come out here and start laying these guys in. This only holds 5. I've got 6, so I'll double up on one. And here comes Shayna. So I'll double up this one right here. Actually, no, I think I'm going to double it. Well, I think I can just do this. That's what I'm going to do right there. That one will stand up. So there we go. Close it. I'll do one or two more fine temperature adjustments to get it up to, around 250. And then let it sit here for the next, 4 hours or so. And put them on here, and then we'll bring them in the house.
All right.
So here we go. This is after, oh yeah, look at that. Yeah, look at that. The bone just tugs away from the meat. So there's the bone. See how that just kind of pulls away? I don't do the ribs where they fall off the bone. I like there to be a little pull, a little give, but it should come off the bones clean when you bite them. Look at that color. Look at that. That's that rub.
Pretty.
Very, well, just as long as they're tasty. And I think they're going to be, after tasting the spare bits of meat that I took off when I was trimming them. It's going to have a good taste to it. And the smoking is done. And so now, just kind of get back there. Put that down, shut the top, shut that off. Everything's going to go out, and I'll have a lot of charcoal left over for use the next time I cook. So here's the rib, and let me see how this is. Oh yeah, that's good. I can taste some of the chili.
You approve?
A little bit of heat. Notice how it pulls when you eat it. It comes away from the bone, but it's not falling off the bone. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. Yep.
Okay, so he approves.
I approve.
Thanks for watching. God bless. We'll talk again soon.
See ya.